My name is Dasha, artist name is daschan. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, visual artist. I basically just make things, whatever comes into my mind and my head, whatever I feel like creating.
How would you describe your work?
I think my work is very playful, very feminine, vulnerable, and quite exposing. I think it feels a lot of the time like pastel colors mixed with like charcoal. There's a lot of very feminine and playful elements to it, but at the same time there's a little bit of sass and grunge that comes out at times as well. So it's a bit of a juxtaposition of the two, and I guess the relationship that these feelings have with each other as well.
How do you experience inspiration? As something you find or something that finds you?
I think of it a little bit more of a cycle, like a spiral mode, and something very wise that someone once told me is that creativity is something that you host rather than something that finds you or that you find. So for me, when I think about inspiration and creativity, it's kind of like a state of mind. A lot of the times I envision it as having like a bit of a satellite antenna just coming out of your brain and being prepared to receive the signals that like come at you from within or without, or from the exterior world as well. So I think for me, in terms of inspiration, like even if I'm facing some sort of, I feel stuck about like writing a song, or I don't know, I start painting something and it's not something that I envisioned in a way, or I'm not really feeling it, it makes me think that, okay, let me change the medium that I'm using, let me change my surrounding, and in doing so, I end up finding that little muscle of creativity and inspiration inside of me, like an inkling, and I feel like that's something that I can activate in kind of like any state that I'm in, to be honest. A good example of that, and something I love to talk about, and something that I use as a practice in the things that I do, especially when songwriting, because songwriting can be kind of a contained art form for me. You have a melody, you have like a very clear structure, and you have to tell a story in this very limited amount of time, and that can be challenging sometimes, like what am I gonna write about? So that's when I bring out my paints a lot of the time, and I'll just start painting, and at some moment I'll be like, oh, like now I know what I'm feeling, like now I know what this energy is that I'm trying to get out of myself, and that's when I would switch to song. So yeah.
How do dreams influence your art?
I have a very active dream life. A lot of the times it feels more intense and more powerful, and as if it impacts my life even more than things that happen on a day-to-day. I do keep a dream journal because of this as well, because if I don't write things down, if I don't put them outside of myself, they kind of tend to linger a lot more and come back and through thoughts or like feelings or emotions, or like a color would trigger kind of a memory that I experienced at night, and that can be quite unsettling. But to answer the question, I think that my dream life plays as much of a role in my life as anything else that I do, and I truly believe that everything that you do in your life influences your art, because the art that I'm making, that's a part of me, So how can it be separate from the things that I experience, the things that I feel? And with my dream life, I feel that it exposes a lot of the time, a lot of the feelings that I'm keeping in throughout the night. So I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh damn, like that's how I feel about this person, like wow. Or it will just make me face something that I'm so afraid to speak out loud, but then a situation that I went through in my dream is like confronts me with it, like completely. So I feel like my dreams become my art kind of becomes my dreams. It's this also interconnected relationship between the two. And I would hope to think that my art feels very dreamlike, feels quite surreal, feels quite, I guess, detached from a certain sense of reality as well.
Do you dream like how you live life, do you think? Or is your dream life very different from your daily life?
My dream life is very different from my day-to-day life. I think I experience a lot more intense things in my day-to-day. In my dream life. I go through just like, sometimes it's very violent things. Sometimes it's very sad. I get a lot of intense imagery. They're always very colorful. The plot lines can be really crazy. Like the other night, I had a dream that I was a professional figure skater, and I was friends with Serena van der Woodsen, who's also a professional figure skater, and I performed an entire routine, in front of judges, which is how did I do that, how did that come into my mind, and in a way that imitates some sort of art form, as well, yeah.
How do you make sense of recurring themes or motifs in your work?
Oh, where do I begin? I think when I sit down to make something, I always ask myself the question of what am I feeling right now? And sometimes it can have something to do with something exterior, like the room that I'm in, the music that I just listened to. But at the end of the day, I think I'm always trying to answer the questions like, who am I? What is going on inside of me? Why am I feeling this way? Like a dissection of these things that ends up making the themes and the motives in my work quite existential and surreal and have a bit of a constructivist point of view. I think the conclusions that I reach a lot of the time is that nothing is real, Everything that I'm making, none of this is real. The only real thing about this is this feeling that I have. And the more I have hindsight about my work and the more I do different things and create different things, I end up realizing that I'm always digesting and thinking through, I guess, the pain, the suffering, the ugliness in life, the anger that I hold, trying to understand where that comes from. But at looking at it from this point of hindsight, I always find it so beautiful. It makes me think how did I take this really ugly feeling inside of me and make something so fragile and vulnerable with it, because it could come out as something so ugly, but somehow I've created this thing that just makes me feel like I'm floating in the clouds, So with having that in mind about my work, and now that I'm creating things with a thought of what is the purpose of this, why am I making this? In my own personal relationship with my art, it made me accept who I am. It made me see the beauty in the ugliness inside of me. And I guess in this way, I'm realizing that with the themes that I'm talking about, with the personal revelations that I'm going through, with showing my, I guess, subconscious world, showing my deepest fears, deepest insecurities, I'm hoping that the people that receive it, that look at it, they see this beauty within themselves as well, I guess the final point of it all is that no matter how scary something is, no matter how much you feel something has brought you pain, you can always find something beautiful in it. And seeing the beauty in it, seeing the love in that, it like erases all the shame that you could possibly ever have about yourself, you know? So I think, yeah, that's what I see with the hindsight that I have now about like the work that I make. Oh,
Fire.
Feeling emo now.
Yeah. Good. That was good. Do you think there are like main emotions that you tackle within all of this? Because you mentioned the fact that the feeling you have from something is what really lingers from it. So are there main recurring emotions that you feel like are the ones that mostly inhabit your work?
Yes, definitely. Like, as an empath. No, but in all seriousness, I am so confused. Like, I'm so confused all the time. And I'm very, very sensitive to like myself and to the world around me, that it can get very confusing for me to understand like who I am and what I'm feeling. Because it feels like I feel everything all the time. Like I even think about a situation that happened to me, or like I sit down and I write a song and I'm like, oh, like I'm so pissed about this, what this person said, or like what's going on, or I'm just like trying to figure out. But like at the end of the day, I dissect it to the point where I feel like all the sides to it, you know, like to this feeling, to this situation, that like I don't know what's real. Like that's the feeling that I have. I just feel so lost in space, and at some point for me I realized that becomes like a comforting position to be in, like feeling really lost, like not having to make up my mind about how I feel about something. So I guess that's what comes through in the work that I make as well. It's just kind of like this, I guess, liminal space and thought, like that point where you really like ask yourself a question and you don't know the answer to it. I'm not sure if there's like really a feeling that I can say that describes this, except just like confusion and acceptance of this confusion. Yeah.
Pisces core.
Just confused, man. Yeah.
I was like, this is working. That's the perfect end, I think, to this video of your part, for sure.